people in power, whether red or blue, they could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country before it's long gone. Our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone.
Good evening, fellow Texians. This is Daniel Miller, and it's time for Coffee Talk. And I'm sure that some of you thought that because I was going to be out of town that I would miss Coffee Talk. And you would be wrong because I'm not going to miss it. As a matter of fact, I definitely need to decompress because I just got back from the Wise County Conservatives had a governor's candidate town hall, and going to be talking about that, and a lot of other things. Been 1 week since I announced that I'm running for lieutenant governor, and there's been a lot of developments on that front. And I'm coming to you. And you know what? I just realized I literally walked through the hotel lobby and forgot my coffee. This is why we can't have nice things. I was in such a rush to get up here, so I was able to hit it on time that I forgot the coffee. So, is it coffee talk? Is it coffee talk without coffee? We'll find out. We'll find out. So, do me a favor. If you're here for the weekly decompress and you would like to consume additional coffee in my honor because I am without, then I will appreciate it greatly. All right. Look, before we get started, let me go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way. If you are watching on the TNM's YouTube channel, please feel free to go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will get notified every time we go live and when we post new videos. And we had one heck of a video posted from, oddly enough, a TEXIT question that Ted Cruz got asked on his live taping of a podcast. So, you're going to want to check out all of those videos. And of course, if you're watching on my YouTube channel, my fresh one, I would definitely appreciate a like, a subscribe, and a notification bell as well, because the announcement video that I did a week ago tonight, right, announcing that I am running for lieutenant governor. Last I checked, before I headed out for that long drive between Nederland and Decatur, Texas, I think we were just over 17 or 18,000 views on that video on YouTube alone. So definitely check that out. Of course, if you're watching on the Facebook pages, please absolutely like this, share it, and leave some comments. It's your comments. It's that trifecta that helps us beat the algorithm, helps more people see our posts, and we sure do appreciate that. And by the way, all those other things too, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. I'm laughing because I'm here and Kara's moderating chat back at HQ. And she tells me, because I haven't seen the chat, she thinks that people think we can stay in a hotel with room service. Somebody said get room service coffee. Sir, this establishment does not offer such things. It does not. I don't know the last time I stayed in a hotel that had room service. That is an interesting question. Kara will have to pick her brain on that one. She'll know better than me. Let me adjust this. There's way too much headroom in that. Let me just say, this hotel is nice, but that wallpaper is hideous. I mean, it's really bad. All right. So, Omni in Austin, many years ago, I think we got a deal on Priceline or something. I think that was the last hotel I stayed at, and that was years ago. And the kids were small. Anyway, all right, I digress. So we have got, a ton to unpack. Of course, last week I announced that I'm running for lieutenant governor, and the campaign is in full swing. And as evident that I have not been planning that for a long time, we still need lots of campaign things, right? We're still waiting on signs and push cards and all that sort of thing. So, but it has been phenomenal, right? The response has been great, and I have just been overwhelmed, appreciative for those of you that have reached out to help, whether you signed up to volunteer, or for those of you that have given contributions to the campaign. I really appreciate it. And I will throw that on the screen for those of you who have not had an opportunity to do so. DanielOMiller.com. Head over there and sign up today. And please, if you have an opportunity, make a contribution. We are going up against a very well-funded incumbent. I think last county had $25 million in the bank. We don't need that kind of money to go out there and win. We got a lot of sweat equity we're going to put in this, and a lot of really super passionate people that are going to help out. But every little bit helps, man. I still can't find anybody to give us campaign signs for free. So, phone calls cost, the website cost. And it's that way for not just my campaign, but for so many of our people that are going to go out there and challenge the status quo on your behalf, that are going to go out there and take on a political establishment that frankly has treated us like dirt for too long. So we're going to go out there and we're going to win it. And we're going to win it with the political power that is inherent in the people. And that's sweat equity, that's contributions, whatever. So let's get down to it. You guys want to do some before I get to any questions, I keep looking over there and I keep getting distracted. But the campaign has launched, and many of you have asked about it. And again, thank you all. One interesting milestone, I think it was this morning maybe or yesterday. Whenever we posted it, you'll see it on our Facebook page. But the announcement video has already received as of last count, when I saw it last, over 104,000 views. That is spectacular in this amount of time for a campaign that's just kicking off. And I cannot thank you all enough that have shared it, that have gotten out there and really just started banging the drum. I cannot express personally what it means to me to have your confidence. And I pledge to you that I will continue to be your champion. I will say the hard things and do the hard things that others refuse to do. And I will be your champion. And I am just very appreciative. Got to meet and shake hands tonight with many people who signed the letter that really kind of pushed me over the line to run. And you can still take a look at that if you go over to standfortexas.com. That letter is still up, but I got to meet and thank and shake the hands of many people who signed that tonight. And all of your words of encouragement. Thank you. All right. So with that being said, we are out of the starting gate. And of course, as you can tell, between the petition campaign and Take Texas Back and this campaign, the T&M is blasting with every barrel we got. We are steamrolling ahead. We are an organization of leaders that set a leadership example by doing it first. And so it is just, if you haven't gone over and looked at the events page on the T&M site, you need to go do that. There are petition signing events. We have got petition circulators signing up. We've got some of our petition circulators that have been kind of dormant, waking up and getting petition signatures, getting those things signed. We've got candidates that are stepping up to run for office. It is just a phenomenal exertion of support. I mean, it's just amazing. And I can tell you that it really is paying off, because yet again tonight, at what I believe may be the first forum for all three of Abbott's main challengers, right? The ones that are polling the highest. So that's Huffines, that's West, that's Prather, right? This was the first where they were all three, and they were all three. Well, it may not be the first, but they were all three asked on the stage on a live stream the TEXIT question. Right now, they were they talked about a whole other host of issues, a lot of other questions, but the question at the tail end was the TEXIT question, and it gave a phenomenal opportunity for anyone who was watching or who was there to see where each of the candidates are on the issue. And really the one that has made the most progress on the issue is Chad. You had Huffines who talked about he said that if it goes on the ballot and the people of Texas vote for it, he will back that 100%. He even talked about from the stage that he has signed the petition to put it on the ballot in March, right? The same ballot he'll be on. So, the fact is that, I mean, people can bemoan that a bit, but let me tell you, as a guy who's been at this for 25 years, folks, that's progress. And it's not tiny progress. That's massive progress, right? And then the Lieutenant Colonel, Alan West, had a great visit with him ahead of time. And I'm going to go ahead and say this as well. I got to thank him personally, but I'm going to thank him publicly as well. When I announced that I was running for Lieutenant Governor, he was the first one of the candidates to reach out and congratulate me and give me some words of encouragement. And for that, Alan, I am very appreciative. Thank you. But he, his position hasn't changed. He's like, look, he said, I understand the fundamental construction of the union. If the people of Texas want to vote for it, and he basically said he's going to back the play. And he has since the time Biederman filed the bill, and he even talked about Kyle filing the bill. Since he developed his position on the issue, right? Since he has been gotten all the facts and all the information, he has consistently been in that camp, right? And then Chad was asked the same question, and Chad was, he didn't equivocate. He's like, not only do I believe that we should vote for it, when we get a chance to vote for it, I will vote yes. He says, I'm in. He said, put me in, coach. I'm all in for TEXIT. So, it's phenomenal to watch these guys have these discussions in public and listen to the crowd response. And more than once tonight, while we were there, of course, after it was all over with and getting to visit with people, more than once tonight, I heard people come to me and tell me that they used to get resistance on this issue, and no more. People are not resisting. I mean, you're still going to have knotheads, right? You're still going to have people that are going to be crazy about it, but they understand that the stakes are so high that the border issue and the health mandates and the currency issues and the infrastructure, all and the banking. I mean, all of these things are coalescing in people's minds, and they're like, at a minimum, I need to consider it, but just a little past the minimum, I got to be on board, and that's where we're getting. The resistance is breaking down. So it tells you that we're closer than we've ever been. And of course, granted, tonight I was there in the campaign capacity, and so I got a lot of questions about a lot of other things, about the border, about immigration, about property taxes, all the things that I list as issues on my site. But invariably, people wanted to come back. I mean, they may approach one of those issues, but they wanted to land right at the TEXIT issue. And I got to tell you, when the TEXIT question came, the live stream, you know what? Let's see if we can get somebody to post the link to the YouTube. The live stream should be archived. So, see if we can get somebody to post that, maybe in chat somewhere. It'll, I don't know. It'll go. If somebody can post it in the chat, then Kara, if you can grab it and repost it, it'll send it out to all of these, right? But bottom line is that, which was hilarious when it came up, Alan name checked me from the stage. He said, "Hey, Daniel Miller's in the audience. He's running for lieutenant governor. We've talked about this issue. Boom. Here's where we're at." So again, super appreciative. So observations for tonight. Man, you guys are very chatty. Kara's throwing a lot of things over here, so I'm gonna have to get the Q&A pretty quick too. But overall impressions. The crowd was first off, the room was packed, right? I mean, there was a lot of people there. And they were anxious to hear where the candidates stood. And I can tell you that there are probably some people that came out of that event that have set. In other words, that, they may have come in and really kind of on the fence about things, but really and truly, I think some people may have made up their minds and settled in behind one or more candidates. But I also say this, I think that there is a significant component of people out there that still have not made up their minds. The positioning for each candidate has been quite similar on a lot of the key issues, right? Whether it be the border issue, the property tax issue, there's from a policy standpoint, and this is feedback, right? I mean, I haven't even gotten to the part where I'm going to decompress and kind of think it through myself. But there are, the feedback I was getting from people, because it was one of the questions I asked everyone who I visited with afterwards was, well, what did you get from tonight, right? What did you walk away with? And while some people may have settled in, a lot of the feedback that I got was that they're still having to make some difficult choices. I mean, the people in that room were like anybody but Abbott, right? At least on the Republican side. They universally were unhappy with Greg Abbott as governor. And additionally, what I heard was unhappy with Dan Patrick as lieutenant governor. Okay. So there was a general dissatisfaction with the kind of the top tier of Texas government, and in the legislature, not much better. So everyone in there was pretty united in their dislike for that. So they know they want an alternative, but they are just not settled. And I know that there's probably, if I go over the chat right now, I'm gonna see people advocating for one or more of the candidates, and I get that. And where I'm at, and I guess this is probably going to answer one of the questions. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I thought I saw it. Okay, maybe I missed it. Okay, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that I saw when I was flipped over to chat a minute ago. Somebody wanted to know where I'm at on the issue and where the organization is, and I'm going to tell you right now, the organization has not endorsed. The organization will likely endorse as much as we can, but we're still undecided on the issue. Excuse me. So, things like tonight definitely help resolve that out, but there's a lot of conversation that we got to have, particularly across a whole host of issues, because like tonight, a good example, one of the things that did not come up at all has been a really big issue for the T&M, and that is the Alamo and monument protection. It was incidentally a Republican legislative priority that they did not take care of. Nobody really did anything about it. So, the Alamo issues, monument protection, Texas history, those things, that's a huge issue for us. It's an issue that we have worked for years. And so, we still have to get some resolution. Again, common misconception about the T&M is we are solely focused on TEXIT. Yes, absolutely. TEXIT is an unquestionable part of what we do, right? It is a non-negotiable for the organization, but there are other issues besides that we have to take into account before we can put the full power of the organization behind any candidate. What good does it do us if a candidate is strong on political independence but weak on cultural or economic independence, right? And what good is it if a candidate is good on economic independence but doesn't believe that Texans at a fundamental level have a right to vote on TEXIT? So, it's in process, and I'll tell you personally, for me, I'm beginning to resolve in. I'm kind of getting there on a personal level, but I will not share that outside of the. I will not share that probably outside of the organization because even though I'm running for lieutenant governor of Texas, at the end of the day, I am also still the president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, and whatever the organization decides is the play that I'm going to back. You take that to the bank, my friends. That's what loyalty is. Okay, so let's take some questions. You guys ready for some questions? Yeah, I know, right? Somebody says Uber Eats for the coffee. I don't know what they have here. Yes, but I definitely need coffee. I don't know who's talking about the coffee in the chat, but I appreciate it. Okay, this is a question from Facebook. Christopher wants to know. He says, "Let's talk about shootings at our border from across the river at our National Guard. What would your response be?" Well, look, when shots are fired at Texas from anywhere, we should absolutely have the right to fire back. Right? That should be the existing rules of engagement. Right? We're not talking about squirrel hunters that that accidentally misfired and shot their direction. We're talking about narco terrorist, criminal, transnational gangs that are down there shooting across the border at troops, Texas soldiers, right? Texans is who they're shooting at. And so the rules of engagement should be clear. That there should be no question about what the response should be. And it should be harsh and it should be swift. And that really plays to the fact that the Mexican government cannot control its side of the border, or is just as miserable a failure as the federal government is, right? I heard one of the sheriffs at one of these conferences say that, it's a mistake to think that the border is not under control. It is absolutely under control right now by the cartels. That comes from a Texas sheriff, right? So, this idea that we should send our National Guard or State Guard to our southern border to deal with what is inarguably an invasion led by narco terrorist and criminal transnational gangs, that we should send them down to the border and treat them as nothing more than the Red Cross and camouflage is ludicrous. And it speaks to the weakness of our elected servants in Austin that they would send them down there. What that tells you is, and I think this should really speak volumes, is that the entire state strategy is we will position assets on the border in sufficient quantity to produce a good photo op. That's what it is. We shouldn't be sending our people down there in support roles. If we're going to deploy Texas troops to the border, we need to do it in force, en masse, and with clear rules of engagement that involve shooting back when they are fired upon, right? What is the saying? I think I even included it in my book, Line in the Sand. Don't ever start the fight, but always finish it, right? And this is the thing. But most people don't understand that at some period, and I don't know if this is the case right now or not. I'm sure someone can clarify. But for the longest time, the rules of engagement for the National Guard and the State Guard when they were sent to the border was they were sent, even if they had arms, they were sent without ammo. And I'm sorry, but I believe that our State Guard and our National Guard should have more ammunition than Alec Baldwin. I mean, let's just face it. It's just the way that it is. And to send them down there unarmed into that situation, which they know could escalate into a dangerous situation, virtually unarmed, is unacceptable. So, Christopher, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Jennifer on Facebook wants to know about petition counts. I don't have those, so I can't answer that. But CPCs, our petition circulators, they participate in something called the CPC Accelerator weekly, and I think it's on Thursday nights. I participate. I've been there some, but they congregate on there. That's where they get briefings about current petition counts, who's leading in the leaderboard, who they get various tips, tricks. It's where they coordinate larger events. So best way to find out is go become a petition circulator, or you're going to have to wait until, like everyone else, until we go dump them in the lap of the appropriate authority on December the 13th. Speaking of our district director there in SD22, Paul Roby, is wanting to put out a call for petition circulators to help collect petition signatures in Galveston at the Lone Star Biker Rally, November 4th through the 7th. So, you know what to do. If you're a certified petition circulator and you want to go help that massive event, look, you're really going to need about as many people as you possibly get down there. I went and worked it on a previous petition campaign, and it's amazing the number of people that are there. But if you want to get involved in that, drop an email over to petition. Well, go sign up. First off, if you're not a petition circulator, go sign up to become a petition circulator. And then, drop an email. There's a place on there where you can email, but it's petition@thetnm.org. And here is the web address for all things petition related, tnm.me/petition. You can go there and find out more about the petition campaign, where you can sign it, a list of directory of petition circulators around the state where you can connect with one locally. Additionally, all of our events for the duration of the petition campaign will be petition signing events. And so you'll get a list of those where you can go and connect and do all that. So go over there and make sure to do that. But Paul is asking, he's calling all hands on deck. So if you're a petition circulator and can get down there, definitely connect with Paul or Michael Smith, who is our petition coordinator, and they'll get you squared away. Okay. Hey, here's a super chat. Thank you so much for your super chat, Tex. Appreciate it. Yeah, those contributions mean the world to the organization. They are super helpful. People don't understand just our billboard campaign, right? Just the billboard campaign, not to mention when we run radio ads or digital buys or anything. Just the billboard campaign runs $250 a day. And that is, we could actually ramp that up more, but that's where it settles in at, to be on the 77, or maybe we're at 82 faces now, but 82 billboards around the state. So everything helps, including the super chat. Tex asks, would you be more agreeable to property taxes if it were explicitly linked to representation? It's interesting, and I don't know, I don't believe it's still this way, but for the longest time, the only people who could vote in related to anything property tax, I believe it was bond elections or whatever, anything that would increase were property owners, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I don't think that's the case anymore. But because even though I'm a property owner, I still get to vote. But even before I was a property owner, I seem to remember having to go vote for bond elections. So I don't believe that's the case anymore. But that being said, look, I am fundamentally opposed to property taxes, and I'll explain to you why. For me, I find a property tax is as immoral as an income tax. Okay. But for a different reason than the income tax. The income tax is immoral because it taxes the production of the substance of the individual. However, the property tax, right? One of the guarantees, life, liberty, property, right? One of the fundamentals that we got, they eventually changed it, or it was changed in the Declaration of Independence to pursuit of happiness. But it was one of the kind of three fundamental guarantees, the tripod of liberty, right? Life, liberty, property. And it was those freedoms. And so the problem, the immorality of the property tax is that you purchase a piece of property, it should belong to you. However, under a property tax system, if you do not pay the taxes on it, then they can come take it from you. Well, anything that can be taken when you don't pay someone else, well, that's rent, right? That's property. It's not property tax, that's rent, right? So you don't ever truly own your property in a property tax system. Imagine that for any other thing, right? Let's just say that, and I've heard some people that some states, I believe, have a personal property tax where they can come tax all your stuff in your house or whatever. But imagine that, right? Imagine on your phone, or that you're watching this on right now, or your computer or whatever device. Imagine that you purchased it and you bought it outright, and then you had to pay the people that you bought it from, or some other entity altogether. You had to continue to pay them every month or every year for the right to own that. And if you didn't pay it, even though you had already paid for it, they can come take it from you, right? It's immoral, right? In a system of property tax, you never actually own your property, because the government, under color of law, can come in and deprive you from that ownership. And I'll tell you, property tax is about as Marxist as it gets, right? Graduated income tax, definitely Marxist. Abolition of private property is Marxist. And when they can come take it for non-payment, then you don't own it. In fact, under a property tax system, you don't ever own property. You pay for it, you give the money to somebody else, and they transfer the deed to you, but you must continue to pay the government. And if you don't, they will take it from you, and then they will go sell it to someone else. It's immoral. So no, I am fundamentally opposed to property taxes. Period. Full stop. Okay, Carver from Facebook asks, I'm curious about your opinions on the Texas State Guard. Would they need to be adapted if Texas is to again become an independent nation? Sure. I talk about this in the book TEXIT. I talk about specifically what it's odd how many people don't know that Texas has its own military, right? It's literally called the Texas Military Department, and it's the Army National Guard, Air National Guard, and the Texas State Guard. And for the longest time, one of the things that I have personally advocated for, that we have advocated for as an organization, when I ran for state representative in 2012, I advocated for, was the full militarization of the State Guard. Right now, the enlistment is lower than the National Guard units, but I think Texas should begin to shift that, and ultimately, upon TEXIT, we're going to have to. Right? That's going to have to happen. And so I talk about it specifically in the campaign in the context of the border, right? If you were to invest the assets that are being invested right now in some of these things that the state is doing, like, deploying the DPS, dozens of miles away from the border to apprehend, arrest, write traffic tickets. I mean, all that kind of stuff. When our DPS need to be elsewhere in Texas, they're all being shipped down there to kind of act as a secondary buffer. I'll tell you, just a side note, and I hope you guys don't mind this. I referred to this the other day. The state's response to the border, I referred to it as the astronaut diaper strategy. Now, some of you are probably wondering what I mean by that, right? What is the astronaut diaper? What does that mean? That means that, in my mind, the state's current approach to the issue of the border is, instead of curing the problem, right, stopping the problem, what they do is they try to mop up the mess. It's the astronaut diaper strategy. Instead of taking some stomach medicine and fixing your intestinal ailment, you've decided to put on an astronaut diaper to mitigate the mess after it was all over with. And it's a ridiculous strategy. It has been since day one. So that being said, I have talked about the State Guard in the context, full militarization of the State Guard, typically in the context of the border, because we know the federal government is not going to fix the border. It's not going to happen. Instead, they're going to make it worse. And so on the road to TEXIT, we have to, the border issue is a national security risk for Texans, right? It's a public safety issue, right? It's a law and order issue. It's a public health issue. I mean, it's all of these things all wrapped into one. And so it represents a current and a clear and present danger, a current invasion on our border of lawlessness that must be addressed, and must be addressed rapidly. But the challenge that we have with the National Guard is this: if the governor calls a full deployment of the National Guard and sends them down to the border, National Guard troops can be federalized. And so literally we could spend the money, we could deploy the National Guard down there. Those National Guard troops could be federalized 24 hours later and then told to go back to their house, go home. And so all of a sudden now you got no National Guard at the border. So it becomes an exercise in futility. It's part of that bifurcated command, something that we actually heard Rick Perry talk about when he was governor, and talked about deploying the National Guard at the border. And he talked about one of the big challenges was the bifurcated nature of the command of the National Guard. He said, I am the commander in chief unless they're federalized. And at the point they're federalized, then you know who's in charge in Washington, and they can do with them what they want, like send them home. So the obvious solution is the State Guard, which is the branch of the Texas Military Department that is immune to being federalized. So what do? You open up and encourage enlistment and specifically target former active duty military, potentially combat troops. You fully equip them, you fully militarize them, and then you specifically say we're recruiting for the purpose of deploying down to the border until this crisis is solved. And that's what you do. And I will tell you, you announce that you are going to fully militarize the Texas State Guard, and you specifically say that we are actively recruiting prior service combat veterans, and it is for the purpose of deploying to secure the border. You will probably see 10 times the number of currently enlisted in the State Guard enlist within 24 to 48 hours. I mean, they won't be able to handle the load because of all the people that are sick and tired of watching the federal government mismanage the border and leave it wide open. So there's that. So, yeah. And from that, I mean, you know, and I talk about it in the TEXIT book. You talk about whether they need to be adapted to Texas to, again, become an independent nation. Absolutely. You know, we're going to have a military. We're going to have a national defense. And the State Guard is a key component of that. I talk about that in the book. Viva, thank you very much. Ran into Brian Slayton, stopped at your booth at Hogfest in Ben Wheeler. You were out there collecting signatures for the TEXIT petition and offered his full support to TEXIT. Brian Slayton's one of the good guys. We know this. He signed on to Kyle's bill, House Bill 1359, the Texas Independence Referendum Act, and has been just an absolute warrior on a whole host of other issues. So I'm glad you were able to visit with Brian. Okay. Here's a question from YouTube. Oh, I like this. Question for LG Miller. Hey, don't jump the gun, right? It ain't over yet. We're going to win, but don't ever catch chickens before they hatch, right? So here's what it says. Here's the question. As an outsider, will you be an enemy of the Austin establishment? Do you have a plan to either defeat the backstabbers or to turn them into allies for your agenda? Well, let me go ahead and tell you, I am already, for the most part, considered an enemy by the political establishment. And I will tell you, my number one sin, well, I guess from their perspective, there are two, right? From their perspective, my two cardinal sins are, number one, forcing them into a public position on the issue of TEXIT, and number two, getting them all flooded with constituent contacts. That's literally why the establishment cannot stand me. But that being said, you know, we've been able to get some things done by developing relationships. For those that are willing to have dialogue, we will always have that dialogue, but we're never going to change who we are to try to fit in. And look, that's just me. I will tell you on this campaign, in literally the week that I have been in this, I have been already pulled in several different directions by people, complaining that I won't get a consultant, right? We're not hiring some campaign consultant, one of these, dirty shills out there, right? Already hearing that. Or heard this one the other day is, they're upset because we didn't do like a year of brand building for my campaign. It's like, dude, I'm not running to be Dr. Pepper or Nike, right? I'm running because people of Texas asked me to run, and they believe that I will be their champion. And I'm not gonna change what I say, how I say it, what I believe. I'm not gonna do that because that's not who I am. I have been steadfast on all of these issues for 25 years. I'm not gonna change up for anybody. And you know what? If that means that I'm a one-term lieutenant governor, so be it. But I will always be transparent. I will always tell it like it is. and I'm never going to back down. I don't care what these guys think about me. I'd love for people to be friends. I'd love for us to get along. But at the moment they sit diametrically opposed to the political will of the people, or turn a deaf ear to their constituents that put them there, then I don't know how we can be friends. But to that point about having a plan to either defeat the backstabbers or turn them into allies, turning people into allies, you have to remember when we first engaged the Texas legislature in 2009, our number of allies was zero. We literally had no friends. And the allies that we were able to get were all built around developing relationships, opening dialogue, having conversations, finding common ground on issues that matter to the organization and that could matter to them. And the ones that were willing to have that dialogue, have that conversation, and were aligned with what we were doing in those areas, they became allies and friends. I mean, I never in my life, given the history pre 2009 of doing this, I never in my life suspected that I would have people that I call friends that came out of legislators, right? I mean, I never did. And that has definitely changed. I have developed what I believe some very strong friendships with some of these guys, but we developed those friendships and those relationships around common issues, and they call us wanting to know, our take on certain things, and we call them and give them pieces of information and help them understand some complexities of some situations that they may not be fully aware. So it's just what it is, but we're always gonna be able to develop allies, and we will always be opposed. So one of the key leadership principles we teach, it's in our district director manual and in our LC manual. We talk about it. One of the key principles is that we are opposed. We can never forget, even when we win, we're still going to be opposed on the other side of it. It's why there will always be a TNM, because even post independence, there will be people out there that want to destroy what it is that we build. So we will forever be engaged in this, because not being engaged in it means that the opposition will continue to do what they do, and we will lose all the ground that we've gained. Okay, Jonathan on Facebook. Since the federal government insists they control the national border, should we establish a second state-controlled border inside the national border and refuse any passenger entry without authorization? Hopefully that would make the federal government fly aliens to the northeastern states. Funny you should mention that. Okay, so you've heard Ted Cruz talk about shipping. They interdict these guys, and then he's talking about shipping them he filed a bill to ship them to Martha's Vineyard. Well, fun fact, many years ago, we had a benefactor who will be anonymous to this day because we agreed never to out them, but offered to help us with a program. And I went around on the media. There are interviews that are still out there of me on TV. God, this was so many years ago, where we offered to buy a bus ticket, a one-way bus ticket to Washington, D.C. for any illegal alien who wanted to claim it. Because the point here was they don't deal with the border because they don't have to live with the situation. So we thought, you know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll get somebody to underwrite the bus tickets, and we will set them up down there at the Greyhound station, but it's a one-way bus ticket to Washington, D.C. So it got us a lot of press at the time. And of course, that was around the time of the Alien Transfer and Exit Program. That gives you, Perry was still governor. Alien Transfer and Exit Program was where they were interdicting illegal aliens at the border in California, Arizona, New Mexico, shipping them on buses to Presidio, Texas, and then dumping them off on the bridge. And so, in a matter of days, Presidio's not very well populated. In a matter of days, there were like 30,000 something illegal aliens that were dumped there. And yes, they were sent across the bridge, but on the other side of that bridge is the Chihuahuan Desert. So those guys would go hang out for a day or two, walk 5 miles down the river, and cross back over. And it was the most ridiculous thing. What's happening now is like alien transfer and exit times 1,000, right? So it's even worse now. But it was bad back then. So to your point, though, as I wound down memory lane, you got to understand that one of the current challenges with the border, right, is that, and it's one of the challenges with the wall too, right? The wall provides a physical barrier, but the problem is that all of these things are set just inside the border, right? There are technically no troops, border patrol, whatever, other than, maybe the river guys or whatever, but everyone else is set inside the border. Well, the way the federal government interprets the law on the issue is the moment that they set foot on U.S. soil, then they are then under federal jurisdiction, right? So literally your only option is to deploy state military forces directly on the border, not 1 inch this side of it. Because stopping them and turning them, because at the moment that they set foot on the soil, the federal government, it claims authority over them. So you just got to stop them from coming across. So that's part of the challenge with that. It's one of the things that there's been a lot of discussion about how to handle that. I'm going to tell you, Brent Smith down in Kenny County's a guy you guys need to go look up. Brent is amazing. He is a big supporter of ours. We're big fans of his, and he is the district attorney down in Kenny County. And he has been doing some novel things related to that. But it's like I was telling Alan tonight. We got to talking about Brent and talking about just the work that he's having to do, and it's like all of this razzle dazzle he's having to do. He shouldn't have to do, but he's having to do it because the federal government is failing. And really intentionally destabilizing Texas. And then you got these do-nothings in Austin that will not step up to the plate and stand in the gap. And so consequently, it's left up to these sheriffs and their DAs and everybody else to try to find some way that they can manage the situation that they have no way to deal with. Okay, so Jonathan, thanks, man. Okay. Hey, super chat from Lisa. Lisa, thank you so very, very much. That contribution is much appreciated. And same to you, Stephen. Thank you so much. Man, you guys definitely make the night. You guys make Coffee Talk so wonderful. And the fact that you're doing the super chats to help us get the message out there for Texas independence is so much appreciated. Okay, I think this is Erin. I think that's what it is. From YouTube, wants to know if, as Lieutenant Governor, will you continue to do coffee talks? He also believes you need to be Lieutenant Governor ASAP. Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, look, I started doing coffee talks. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I started doing coffee talks. I used to go into the TNM has a members only group on Facebook, right? Because we've been on Facebook forever, but it's for members only. Like the only way you can get access to it is if you execute a membership. If you're an actual member of the TNM, right? Supporters don't get access to it. You have to have some kind of membership, and we check it all at the door. So we have a group over there, and I used to just go on there randomly. And do this, have coffee, which I am not having now, which makes me sad. And just decompress, like talk about the issues of the day, just kind of what we've been working on, all those sorts of things, and just doing that. Well, next thing you know, it's like, okay, I'm just going to put this on the calendar. I'm going to do it every Wednesday night at 9:30. It's a good break point for me in the middle of the week, in the evening before I start doing my other stuff, because I always have work to do after this. And so that's what I did. I just sit down, get a cup of coffee, sit down, fire it up. And the next thing you know, we're like, more people want to see it. It's like, okay, so we just start doing it. We start expanding and expanding and expanding. So, and look, when I committed to doing them, I think I've missed maybe one. And I think it was a technical issue or something along those lines. But look, even when I was in Dallas for my daughter's brain surgery, I mean, I went to the hotel room and did it. There was one time when I was a day late, and sometimes scheduling that, the scheduling issues happen. But my intention is to continue to do this because, frankly, as much as you guys enjoy it, I need it too. When I talk about this as my decompress, there's a lot. You guys don't, many of you guys probably don't understand. There is a lot going on in the T&M, and some people don't realize this, but Karen and I actually have our own business, right? So we both work, and so we balance the T&M and our business and contracts, because I work as a tech consultant. You guys probably, many of you don't know that. Work as a tech, and then with this campaign and then everything else. I mean, yeah. So I need this, and so my intention is to continue to do this as long as you'll watch, and even if you don't watch, I will probably still do it anyway because this is I enjoy it. And thank you for your support for the LG race. Christopher from Facebook. Oh man, it's 10:22. I'm running late. No, we're doing good. Christopher from Facebook asks, what is your opinion of Biden? You could honestly just stop there. It's pretty low, right? I don't know that it could get much lower. But you continue. Using the IRS to look at anyone's bank account that spends more than $10,000 a year, so they know how you spent your money. Yeah, look, they, once they tie to your bank accounts and force you to do it, instead of having to calculate your taxes, they'll just send you a bill, right? But that's, where in the world is that a power of the federal government? If you ever want an example of how broken the federal system is and how it will not be fixed, it is the IRS, it is the tax system. I mean, there's a whole host of things, but just their ability to even float this like it could possibly happen tells you that the system is broken, right? What rights do you have when they can just tie right into your bank account? What happened to your right to privacy, right? Illegal search and seizure without a warrant. Well, I'm pretty sure that went out a long time ago. I'm fairly certain Edward Snowden made sure that everyone understood that you don't have any Fourth Amendment rights under the current federal system. And if anybody thinks that they have changed their stripes, you're out of your mind. The federal government will continue to invade your privacy across all levels. They will continue to snoop on you. They will continue to do people dirty until Texas is no longer a part of that system. You're not going to get some messianic politician or group of politicians elected in Washington, D.C. that are going to fix it. I talked to Congressman Michael Cloud. I spoke at an event a few weeks ago down in the Corpus area. I think it was Port Aransas, maybe. And got to visit with him, and I've known him for several years. But I told him, we talked about this, and he said, look, he's not where we are on the TEXIT issue. He said, but I'm just trying to do my dead level best to slow it down, right? And that's fine if that's the role they play, is to slow down while we can get our act together here and get TEXIT done, then so be it. But that really should tell you all that you need to know. That should tell you all you need to know. When they view their role as to just slow down the decay, it's not fixable. My opinion of Biden using the IRS, they're talking about backing off, but you understand that is the Hegelian dialectic, right? That's how they operate. It's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, right? They always pitch something just so far out there to trigger a backlash, and then they demand a compromise that is really what they were looking for in the first place. Whereas we just say, no, we don't want you to do anything. It's the Hegelian dialectic: synthesis, or thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And the synthesis is always what their goal is. So watch for it. They asked for the bank issue, the being able to tie in and have those reports. They got a big backlash. So let's see what their compromise offer is, and then you'll know exactly what their original goal was. And hey, by the way, thank you, Alec, for your super chat. Thank you very much. Man, this has been a weird coffee talk. A coffee talk with no coffee. Guys, forgive me. I was just excited to be up here with y'all. That's funny. Okay, somebody's posting in there that Jeff Leach is furious about the debate. When's the last time I cared about what Jeff Leach thought, other than the fact that he's uncomfortable? I mean, remember, he's the guy that went after Kyle's bill and called it anti-American and treasonous and all these things before he had ever seen it. So, Jeff Leach can go pound sand. Not a fan. Oh, Jeff Leach, that guy, he's something else. Okay, here's a question that came from chat. What would your first big what would your first big issue you would tackle after TEXIT? John Mega says, when the coffee's gone, it's whiskey time. Look, this hotel room is dry. There's not even a bottle of water in here. Like, I would have to put y'all on hold and go in there and drink out of the faucet, I think. Look, it's not a first comes TEXIT, then comes everything else, right? I mean, if you're talking about it on the lieutenant governor side of it, I mean, you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, right? All of these issues deserve attention. Every issue that we've listed off, including every issue in the TNM, right? One of the things that has been a staple, right, at the very beginning when we founded the TNM, if you go look at our mission statement, go to tnm.me/about, you will see our mission statement. And it says that we will work to secure and protect the political, cultural, and economic independence of the nation of Texas, right? So that's the first part. And you will see, and you will hear me talk about this all the time, the political, cultural, and economic independence, right? Political, cultural, economic. That is the tripod that independence stands on. And it's not something that we just developed, that, I didn't just pull it out of the ether, right? And it's not how it worked. When in the year and a half to 2 years ahead of the formation of the TNM, we did this exhaustive study of independence movements around the world, right? And how they came about, how they were successful. We studied the successful ones, the failures. I mean, it was very exhaustive, very in-depth, and very informative. But one of the things that resolved out of that research and that study was that the successful independence movements in the long term, aka they maintained the highest degree of independence post-separation, were those that had in equal measure political, cultural, and economic independence. Those were sort of the three things. So we knew that from an advocacy standpoint that we had to pursue all three, because if you focus on one and you lose the other two, then you lose independence as a whole, especially, and it doesn't have to be in the short term, it can be in the long term. And so the ability for us to TEXIT, and people fixate on the TEXIT issue a lot because it's frankly the sexiest part of the topic in the minds of most people, right? Because of Brexit, because of the referendum, the separation part, that is the part that people fixate on. But at the end of the day, we wind up looking at all of this. We have what I refer to as a holistic view of independence. One of the reasons that I talk all the time about the cultural aspect of what we do. I mentioned earlier how at tonight's debate, or if you want to call it, it wasn't a debate, it was a town hall, a forum. There was no discussion about monument protection and the Alamo and kind of the issues that have been plaguing that for years now. And it's one of the reasons I said that from an organizational standpoint, we're not resolved behind one particular candidate yet, because some of our key issues, like monument protection, we don't know enough from the candidates about that. So, that's how it works. So, as far as first big issue after TEXIT, look, we got a lot this side of TEXIT, during TEXIT, after TEXIT that we're going to have to contend with. But you know what? That's what's called being self-governing, right? We have to take care of these things. I've made clear what my priorities are. If you guys are phenomenal enough to choose me, right? If that is what you want, if I am your guy, then understand what you're going to get. You're going to get a vote on TEXIT. You're going to get progress on the abolition of property taxes. Definitely working on securing the border. Doing in all the different ways that we talked about. We're going to get legislation passed to secure health freedom. We're going to end the proliferation of toll roads. It goes on and on. We're going to tackle this issue that we had with the grid and defederalize it and get rid of these subsidies and do all. I mean, there's a whole slew of things. Go to my website. But if you want to understand what we're going to be advocating for post TEXIT, we're going to be advocating for a whole host of issues. We got an entire transition process that we have to manage post TEXIT. Right. And we understand there'll be some constitutional issues, some statutory issues. There's going to be great debate around the way those things shape up post TEXIT. We're going to have to examine all the international covenants, treaties, and agreements that the multilateral agreements and conventions that we're going to want to sign on to, and some we're not going to want to. Those are all going to have to be examined. And then the final key piece of that is the negotiation that's going to have to happen with the federal government. So, game on. So it's there. Look, the remainder of my days is probably planned out at this point. But the bottom line is, we keep fighting the battle until we win, and then we keep fighting to maintain that win after we win it. Right? No defeat is ever final, but neither is any victory. Right? So you got to hit the ground running every day. Either what was that story about the lion and the antelope? Yeah. All right. Well, look, it's time, folks. You guys have been very, very kind and very indulgent tonight as I have done this without coffee. This is a coffee talk without coffee. And I am not for those of you joining late, I am not protesting, right? It's just I left it in the lobby. I have to go get it. So, look, I want to echo what Stephen said. Oh, hang on. And by the way, thank you for the super chat and the mention of the Alaskan Independence Party. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. I have got something coming up for you guys. I've got to get back on it this next week, but I had a phenomenal visit with the Cal Exit people, the New Hampshire Exit people, getting ready to loop in the Puerto Rico Exit people. I mean, this thing is about to get really cool. You guys are about to get that virtual international summit you wanted, and it's going to be phenomenal. So just stay tuned. Okay, so I want to echo what Stephen said. Thank you to everyone who donated tonight, whether you donated in Super Chat or you went to tnm.me/donate, or you went to my website at danielomiller.com and donated there. For whatever you donated, wherever you donated, and for whatever purpose, thank you for supporting our work and our mission to go out there and make Texas free and independent. That being said, it is time to wrap this bad boy up. Hey, I see, hang on, in YouTube, right there, I see Eric Stewart. Eric, you need to call me for real. I don't have your number. We went to high school together, and I want to talk to him. So anyway, let me go ahead and wrap this thing up as I do every single Salted. Yes, and become a CPC. I mean, I've got so many calls to action tonight, it's ridiculous. But definitely go hit up the petition website, tnm.me/petition. Become a CPC. That's Petition Circulator. Sign the petition. Do whatever you can. I mean, the clock is ticking. Get it done. Get it done. Get it done. Let's go win. So I'll leave you as I do every night that we do this with the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. That time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.
of the people in power, whether red or blue. They could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan, rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's all gone. Texan, rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country